That was quite the entrance. Haven't heard that song in a while. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm sure most of you are kind of thinking, what can I learn from the gymnast that was on Dancing with the Stars, that was on Subway commercials? But if you don't learn anything, maybe you can just enjoy my experience and the journey that I had to not only Olympic gold, but the second chapter of my life. So I was born in Moscow, Russia, and both of my parents were gymnasts. My dad competed at the 1988 Olympic Games, won 2 gold and 2 silver medals. My mom was a rhythmic gymnast and a world champion. So being the best was pretty much standard in my family. And growing up, I always just wanted to be like my parents. And I didn't really know what the Olympics were, didn't really know what it meant to be the best, but I knew that I wanted to be the best. So I started competing when I was about 6 years old, and then at 12 years old, I made the junior national team. And just a few short years later, I made my very first Olympic team. So Beijing, China, 2008. Everything was a fairy tale. I remember the night before the all-around finals, going to sleep and having this dream. And in my dream was my gymnastics competition in my hot pink leotard and matching hot pink scrunchie. And I was on the vault, the very first event, and vault has always been my worst event. And in my dream, I stuck my landing perfectly. And so that's kind of when I knew it was a dream and not reality. And I went through all the events in my dream and got off the floor, went down the steps off the podium. My dad, who was my coach my whole career, I gave him a hug. And as I woke up, my arms were literally out here. Laying in bed, I turned over, and my roommate, Sean Johnson, was sound asleep. And I remember thinking, like, no way, that was just a dream. It felt so real. So then when I woke up a few hours later, everything kind of seemed like I knew it was going to happen. I had this sense of confidence over me that I had never had in my entire life. And I told myself, well, now all you need to do is just go do it, because you know what the outcome is going to be. Well, easier said than done when you're at the Olympic Games and performing on a 4-inch wide balance beam. So we get to our first event, which is vault. And in my warm-up, I had a great vault, and I took one step on my landing. My dad looked at me, and he said, do the exact same thing, but try to stick it. And I laughed. And he looked at me and said, why are you laughing? You have to be serious. This is the Olympics. And I was like, oh, yeah, right, okay. But I laughed because I knew that that's what I was going to do, because that's exactly what happened in my dream. And so when I went for my competition that time, I stuck my landing just as I had in my dream. And mind you, I stuck my landing for the first time ever. I had never done such a perfect vault, and it all happened when it mattered most. So I went through that competition, had a great beam routine, bar routine, floor routine, went off the steps, gave my dad a hug, made sure to hold it there for a few extra seconds to make sure it was real that time. And I remember seeing the final scores come up and my name being in first place, and just looking at my dad, and so many different emotions had taken over me. It was exactly 20 years prior that my dad competed at the 88 Olympic Games. And in the all-around competition, he won the silver medal by .001, just losing the gold medal. Now, I'm not typically one to ever say that someone loses a gold medal, because I always believe you win the silver medal, you win a bronze medal. But in that moment, he told me, for 20 years of my life, that has haunted me. And everything that you did just right there in that moment completely erased all of those fears, all of those memories that I had. And that was something that I will remember for the rest of my life. Flash forward 4 years, I found myself at the Olympic trials in 2012. I had taken a few years off, and I knew that, no matter what, I wanted to go through this process and not have any regrets. So I told my dad, I want to try to train again and make my second Olympic team. And he said, it's going to be a lot harder at 22, because now 22 is like ancient history in gymnastics. I was 18 at the Olympics, and I was a quote-unquote grandma. And I said, yeah, I know, but I also don't want to have any regrets. I don't want to be in London thinking, what if? What if I just would have tried and given it my all one last time? And that's what I decided to do. And nobody really believed in me. Everyone said I was doing it for the wrong reasons. Everybody said that, you're just trying to do it for the fame, for the attention, for the sponsors. And in my heart of heart, I knew that I just loved gymnastics. I loved everything about it. My parents really didn't want me to do gymnastics because they knew how hard it was, but when they saw how much passion I had for the sport, they didn't want to take that away from me. So here I was at the Olympic trials, coming in as the reigning Olympic all-around champion. A few more eyes were on me this year than the previous Olympic trials. And I knew that, and the expectations were extremely high. Not just the expectations that I put on myself, but from everybody else. I was now expected to be a leader. I was going in this competition as the very best in the world. And then this happened. On my very best event, the uneven bars, I came crashing down, face first, just like that picture. And I remember laying there on that mat, thinking, why am I down here? I'm supposed to be finishing that bar routine. I'm the best in the world. When you're champions, when you're the best, you're not supposed to fall, right? Well, that's what I thought all of these years. And my dad quickly asked if I was okay, just to make sure I wasn't injured, and I said yes. And he quickly told me, you can just walk off the stage now. The dad kicked in. He wasn't my coach anymore. He just wanted me to be safe. And I said, I know I can walk off, because I knew in that moment that my career was over. I wasn't going to make a second Olympic team. But then I also remembered what he told me ever since I was a little girl, that no matter what you do in life, you always have to finish what you start. So I had 30 seconds to get back on the bar. I chalked my grips, and I mounted the bar again. And I finished my routine. I landed on my feet on my dismount, and I looked around the arena, and 20,000 people rose to their feet. For the very first time in my entire life and career, I had a standing ovation. For the worst routine of my entire life. And I remember being so confused why all these people were not even just cheering for me, but why they were on their feet. When I won the Olympic all-around gold medal 4 years before, nobody was standing on their feet. They were clapping, they were cheering, they were excited, they were proud. But the moment that I had in San Jose at that Olympic trials made me realize so much more about life. That life isn't always about being the best. It's not always about winning a gold medal. It's about the journey. It's about finding something that you truly love to do. And when you wake up every single day, you have a goal. Now I'm going to ask you this. Does anybody ever have a day where you wake up, you're so tired, you're maybe sore from your workout, you're just exhausted from hitting that deadline or this new contract, and you just don't want to get out of bed? Anyone? Raise your hand. Yes? For those of you that didn't raise your hand, you're lying. I guarantee you that we've all had one of those days where we just don't want to do it anymore. And so what gets us through those days? It's setting a goal for yourself. It's having a dream. And not just a dream or a goal like the Olympic Games that are in 8 years or 10 years or 12 years. But it's that daily, constant goal, something that you really are striving to achieve on a day-to-day basis. You're waking up with an intention. You're waking up with knowing what you want to achieve that day, that week, that month, and that year. And that's really what gymnastics taught me. Now, I get asked this question quite a lot. And the question is, did you ever feel like actually quitting? Did you ever feel like giving up? And the answer is yes. Pretty much all the time. There were days when I came home from training after 7 hours a day, 6 days a week, pretty much 365 days minus the Sundays. And I would tell my mom, Mom, I don't think I can do this anymore. It's so hard. I'm frustrated, I'm injured, I can't make this skill, I can't make this routine. And she would say, okay, honey, that's fine, you can quit, but not today. And she would say, you have to go back to the gym tomorrow, and the next day and the next day until you have a good day. And sometimes that took me 3 days, sometimes that took me 5 days, however long that would take. So then after a good day, I would come home and she would say, great, now you can quit. We'll enroll you back into public school, find something else that you like to do. And I'd say, what are you talking about? I never said I wanted to quit. And so that is something that I will take with me for the rest of my life. No matter what it is in life that we're doing, it's not just about gymnastics. It's not about just being an athlete. We're all going to have bad days in our lives where it's whether we don't want to get out of bed and get through this blizzard, because I'm new to Boston. This whole snow thing is very interesting to me. I'm from Texas, so I've had plenty of those days here. But it's those days that we actually get out of bed and we actually push ourselves through those days, because that's when we're actually getting stronger. Not on the days that everything's coming so easily for us, that everything's just going our way, because those days are good to have, we're staying consistent, but it's on those tough days that we're actually getting stronger. So going back to the Olympic trials, I'm looking around the arena and I'm seeing those 20,000 people. They're cheering me on, they're supporting, some are crying with me. And that's kind of when I realized that this journey, my entire gymnastics journey, wasn't about winning a gold medal. I realized what really mattered for me. And for me, what mattered was trying to inspire that next generation of women and athletes all across the world. Now when I travel across the world and I see these little kids and I see them come up to me and all they want is just to have some advice or say hello or tell them that I inspired them, that means more to me than any gold medal, because they're our future. They are the future of not only USA Gymnastics, but our country and our world. And so that is what has been my mission now as I move forward in life. I remember my dad telling me when I was about 10 years old. He said, "You never know how far your gymnastics career is going to take you, but an education will stick with you for the rest of your life." And at 10 years old, you're kind of brushing everything off that your parents say. And I looked at him and I said, "Yeah, Dad, okay, yeah, whatever you say." And he said, "So promise me at some point in your life, you're going to go to school and you're going to get your degree." And I said, "Sure, Dad, I promise." And last year, I graduated from NYU. And that's where I really realized what my true passion was, what my true mission in life was, outside of being a competitive gymnast, outside of doing Dancing with the Stars, outside of doing all these amazing experiences that I've had in my life. My true mission has been to empower the potential in that next generation. So my fiance and I, who is a BC Eagle, anyone else here an Eagle? Okay, a few of us. So he played hockey at Boston College, and we have been both so lucky to have so many amazing mentors in our lives, both as athletes and now outside the gym and outside the rink, as we venture into the business world. And that's what Grandeur is. We're inspiring that next generation of athletes to be the best version of themselves that they can be. I truly believe that over my 20-year gymnastics career, I built so much knowledge and so many experiences that I had, and there's nothing that I can do with them anymore. I don't coach. Every once in a while, I'll do a clinic or a summer camp. And social media is not necessarily for that. It's amazing. Love Instagram, love Twitter, love Facebook, love it all. But that's not necessarily the place to connect to these young aspiring gymnasts. And that's what I realized. And I remember talking to my dad when we first started this, and he said, "You know, I really wish that you would have been able to have something like this when you were a young girl." Now, coming from somebody that was also a 4-time Olympic medalist and a coach, and maybe somebody that thinks that they know it all sometimes, and to hear him say that kind of resonated with me. Because as much knowledge as we have, I truly believe that it's all of our missions and all of our goals to be able to continue carrying our knowledge onto that next generation. So with that being said, thank you so much for having me here today. And I know this whole gymnast thing and Olympic thing was a little bit of a break between all of your business lectures, but it's truly been an honor to be able to share my story. And regardless of if you learn something, hopefully you can take away something from my experiences and the things that I learned today. So thank you so much.